Hey everyone, I decided to do something a little bit different this morning. I'm gonna pre-record myself and have it all ready for the morning so I can take my mind off of this and make sure it's all pre-planned and I'm not going to screw up in the morning. So I'm going to go ahead and take you through the slideshow that I created. And at the end of the slideshow, if there's anything else that needs to be addressed, we'll get Darwin to address it. He can do the Q&A session once we're finished because he will know the answers better than I will. So without any further ado, I'm going to take you through and I'm going to show you some of the things that we went through and just the mindsets and the great things that have been happening in our schools. The first slide here, if you guys were at the first meeting, God, it seems like such a long time ago now. When we look back on March 13th, we had our get together in the gathering area. We were addressing everything, and I was talking about the Chromebooks coming in and losing my stylus in my bed. I still love my stylus. So here we are. We're moving into another chapter as this whole story unfolds, and I've been doing a lot of reflecting, as I'm sure many of you have, over everything that we've went through. And I just want to address some of the things that have happened, the celebrations, and try and make light of everything that's happening here. So I want you to take a look at this. This is a principal's message to explain and talk to students about the COVID pandemic. But when you look at it, I want you to just listen really carefully. Okay, I think this is a pretty interesting read. So I'll read it to you. It is with the spirit of pessimism that many of you from the cloistered peace of Hunting Hills High School look out upon a pandemic-stricken world. However, it is in times like these, when the ways of life are changing and not static, that youth has its greatest opportunity. Societies require young people who possess a sound foundation of knowledge, who have the ability to think clearly, and who will work hard. If you have developed these abilities, then you will be one of the few upon whom so much will depend in making of a better world. So this passage was obviously made in reference to helping students that are impacted by such a devastating change and getting them prepared for the future. Okay, the interesting thing about this is this was written in 1942, okay, during the World War. And it was written by my grandpa. He was a principal in Vermilion. It was the very start of his administration. He was in the onset of a war when he had to do his message to the students. But I just thought it was so almost eerie that this message could have been passed on as something that could go to our students now. So might just out of interest, maybe not interesting, but my grandpa passed away before I was born, the year I was born. All right, I'm going to give credit to Janine for this. She used this analogy at the start of the year when we were meeting at a language arts meeting in the English department. She was explaining how it was essential that students get to certain parts of the playing field in order to get to where they need to be once they get to grade 12. So I want to go through and I want to use the grade 11s as my reference because that's my grade level. And this is kind of the path they've taken. So they went through registration, which this year, that's going to be another obstacle to contend with. I've been talking with Lori about it, and we're looking at possibly making like a virtual tour to explore and showcase what our school has to offer, and then we have to do the registration process online as well. So another challenge that we have to face. Once students register, then they moved into grade 9, finished grade 9, got a quarter of the way through, and got themselves prepared for high school. Now they got into high school. They finished their first year of going through credits, receiving all the credits they had, hopefully passing all the classes that they had to pass, getting ready to move up and transitioning into their grade 11 courses. Now they get to grade 11 and everything's on track. They're doing everything they need to do. They're moving through the streams, and all of a sudden March 13th hits. There it is, school closure, 15-yard penalty for COVID. At this point, now we're set back and we're in a position where we got to figure things out. So how do we get them to grade 12? That is the concern. This penalty has pushed us back a considerable amount in our grade 11 year, And we're trying to address this and find out how we can get there. And that's what we've been doing for the last 2 weeks. And it's amazing what we've come up with. We come up with a plan for a curriculum. The core has been put in place, addressing how the marks that they had are going to work for them. Seeing that if you're enrolled in the class, you're going to pass. And now we went through, and Lori explained it yesterday, how it's going to work with all the complementary courses moving forward. And then we're also seeing how we can utilize their Google Classroom marks for their final grades. So I think there's some leverage there. I think there's a dangling carrot for students to do well. And at the same point, as teachers, we know that when we move them from the start of grade 11, once we hit this hiccup with COVID, we have all the intentions in the world to get them as close to where we want them to start their grade 12 year. So to have students stagnate and stay where they're at right now, that's going to be extremely difficult for them going into their grade 12 year, and it's going to make it really difficult for us as teachers. So the more we can pursue and motivate students to get to that 25-yard line, getting ready to go in for graduation, the better off we're going to be. So again, thanks, Janine. That's a great analogy. Next thing moving forward is we have our pre-COVID circle of influence and our pre-COVID circle of concern. So if we look at this, you're going to see in a second here how this all plays out. Darwin, he explained this to us at a staff meeting, and he's went back to it, and it's been used continuously as we go through this big change. But essentially what we have is we have our circle of influence that we have control of, and then we have all the circles of concern that we have no control of. And these are kind of the things that we look at. So things that we can control and we have influence over are our work, where we travel, what we buy, the skills that we learn, who we decide to spend time with, how we spend our free time, when we teach, our sleep patterns, when we get exercise and where we get exercise, what we decide to read and watch. These are all things pre-COVID that we had. Now that we go into the COVID session, all of a sudden this changes. Okay, our circle of influence has been changed. A lot of the things that used to be under our influence have been taken away from us, and some of the stuff's been a lot of it's been government driven, but because of the health implementations and the economies, things are happening to our lives. So it's important that we recognize this, but it's also important that we recognize that we still have a circle of influence. It's just changed. Okay, now the old things that used to be part of our circle of influence have been modified. We now have new things that we can control and that are in our sights. So our world has shrunk down, okay, and we don't have the same abilities that we had before, but we still have abilities, and new opportunities have opened up. So we now can work from school, or we can work from home. You have the opportunity to save money. There's not a lot of places we can spend money right now, except the stock market. Okay, but we have, you can plan your trip. Maybe a trip got canceled, it's been postponed, you can plan another trip. We are all in a position now where we're motivated to learn. Like all this time that we have to explore and see all the different the different apps and the different software and applications that are out there for us to utilize, it's gonna impact the way that we teach and the way that we administer. You can teach when you want. Okay, I'm doing this right now. It's 4:30 in the afternoon. That was my choice that I could do that at this time. We can meet with friends and family. We just got to do it a different way. Okay, hats off for Nate last week for bringing everyone together for an afternoon get together on Friday. That was a wonderful way to spend time with all of our colleagues. Other things we can do. You can gain weight. Get ready for COVID. Okay, might be a good thing to do. Okay, and we can also binge watch Netflix, Crave, Disney. Okay, we have all those things going. I'm so looking forward to some of the shows that are coming out right now. So I brought this up too. This picture of this little squirrel standing on a log, had his home taken away, not sure what to do. Does that feel anything like what we went through? Of course it does. So whether it was us feeling lost or the students feeling lost, that's where we're at. Okay, but I have to say that that after that went into place, that we saw changes. Okay, and we can now see the squirrel, okay, much like us, on the edge of the cliff, not sure what to do. in a position that we haven't been in before and not knowing what to do. But in this position, I saw that a lot of people were willing to be vulnerable. They saw hope. They were willing to take risks, and they did everything that this squirrel did. Took the leap of faith. Go into a place they hadn't went before. What a way of representing what we've done. And I love this because Darwin hates it when I show animal videos, and I love them. And I think I'm wearing off on them because I believe their family is going to buy a dog. All right, another animal video. Okay, so we have these rhinos. They're getting ready to go into some water and cool off. Okay, and things don't go as planned. Okay, and this is where we can say sometimes things are out of our control, and you can see how this rhino reacts to things that are out of his control. And I think we did the same. I think for the most part we accepted the change and we just went with it. Okay, when things went bad, we didn't fight it. We just went with it, and we made the best of the situation, and we continue to go with it. We gotta watch it one more time. That was in real time. That is not slow-mo. Okay, but I thought that was a great way of showing how we accepted the change and we went with it. You couldn't make that kind of change that quickly in any organization without people buying in. So I'm so inspired by what we've done. So this change, it happened in two ways. We can see here that we have some people that went through and they had post-static growth. I talked about this at a staff meeting at the start of the year, so I'll just refer back to it. Post-static growth happens when there's a dramatic change in our lives, but we've done something to prepare ourselves for it. Okay, in this case, those people that have a technology background and they've been using Google Classroom, they're in a position where they're able to raise their cup and say, hey, I got this. This is not going to be a problem. Okay, but then we had other people, okay, that they went into this, and that's exactly the face that I would feel in this position. Okay, where it's like, oh my God, I have never done online learning. I have never used Google. What is this going to be? I can't do this. But as fast as that happened, I saw the caps turn a different direction, and that's what post-traumatic growth is. It's when you get into a position where you can fail, but you find a way to make the best of it and you grow out of it. So at the end of it, as much as it was traumatic, okay, the situation actually promotes you into a growth position. Okay, so we're seeing that day in and day out right now. Times are changing, teaching's changing. We're now into an anytime, any place, anywhere learning playground, and you guys are thriving in it. So I'm going to share, since I'm with the English department, I want to share a lot of the successes. Obviously, we're not as crazy and active based as some of the other departments can be, but what they do is they tell great stories. They're very informative, and they're very good at being deliberate in what they do. They're communicators, and they're exceptionally good at it. So the first thing I want to share is I think Michelle and John were the ones that took this on first, but it's being passed through the department. There's this app called Parlay, where you go online, the students meet, there's a topic and questions that are addressed. And once they're addressed, it's not being addressed from the teacher down, it's being addressed, and then the students engage and they discuss and they interact with the topics that are involved. So an excellent platform for students to go into deep critical thinking, where the students take control. I'm really looking forward to seeing and hearing about the results from the Parlay. The next part, we have two of our amazing English teachers here who've led the way for many years. Sue's going through, and I'll play her video first. She's going to go through and she's giving a lot of tips and tricks about reading and things to look for in your reading. But I stopped at this part of the video because she was explaining how she deals with stress and how she deals with her life when things aren't going well. And I thought, you know what, this is one of those spots where she has a moment where she can be proactive and discussing and sharing with students some of the obstacles that they may be going through, and she does it in a way where she can connect it with her learning.
Heal. Now my question there is, what did she do to proactively allow herself to heal? Now, if she doesn't tell us this in the book, then maybe that's something to continue to question as I move forward. I have some answers for myself. For example, I know when I need to heal from painful situations, I usually use journaling. I speak to a counselor. I exercise, and I seek the support of my friends. I also do something really positive like improv to kind of take my mind off of things, and I work on learning new things.
See how she even got the little push for improv in there at the end. Well done, Sue. Next up, Janine. I have a lot of admiration for Janine. She's an excellent human being and an excellent teacher. And I wish I could do more justice here, but I wanted to take out a little spot of her teaching. And I just want to use what she's doing to say how important storytelling is. It's one of the best methods for teaching with students and teaching anyone to learn is to teach through stories. But I really like in this situation where she went through and she addressed the reading with the students, and then she went through afterwards and she kind of followed it up with what the students should anticipate as they follow through with the read.
He says, "You're a rotten driver. Either you ought to be more careful or you ought not to drive at all." "I am careful." "No, you're not." "Well, other people are," she said lightly. "What's that got to do with it?" "Well, they'll keep out of my way," she insisted. "It takes two to make an accident." And then he says, "Suppose you met someone just as careless as yourself." "I hope I never will," she answered. "I hate careless people. That's why I like you." Okay. So the car accident at the end of the party and this carelessness and the idea of driving a car carelessly with Jordan are kind of going to become a bit of a reoccurring kind of image or motif within the text, and will have some far more drastic consequences in the later chapters. Now,
so you can see there, bells and whistles don't have to happen. And this is a person, Dr. Himshaw, who is great at depicting this. She has become a national role model, and she's been a superstar in our province. And she's going out, and everyone looks forward to watching the announcement. It's because of her, and it's not because like she's this incredible speaker that's vibrant and really charismatic. But what she is she's super competent, and she shows that she cares. And at the start of the year, remember, we did that grid and we talked about those two things that teachers have to have. And Darwin has been expressing to you, because we don't have that sense of feedback and we can't really express this with the kids. But what I've noticed in the lessons and the videos that you've been creating for the students is you become very proactive. So the teachers, you're going out there and anticipating what the needs of the students are going to be, and this is an exceptional skill that you have because of the experience that we have in this building. Is when you're building your lessons, you're anticipating and you're seeing what the needs are of the students, whether it's for the academic side of it or for life skills, and that's being put through on the lessons that you're creating in the class. Okay, and I say the same thing with what you're doing in the class, and with what Dr. Himshaw is doing is you're teaching and you're caring at the same time. And this is another excellent role model that we can follow. Here we have one of the individuals in our staff that I'm most proud of. Lori was one of those teachers in the school that was really hit in the side when she heard about the announcement that we'd be going online. Very uncomfortable position for her to be in, and it took her one day. Okay, and after that day, she pulled up her boots and she decided, okay, I'm in. Okay, this is what I'm doing. And I love what she's done here. She has the language is power as her backdrop in her videos. Right below what I put on here, vulnerability is powerful. But essentially what I love about what Lori did is She was in that position where there was a lot of trauma that she was feeling, and she was able to take that and put it into a growth mindset. And what she's been doing has been exceptional. And what I really like about this video is she puts the humanitarian side of herself into the video, and she shares some commonalities with students.
Happy Friday, English 20. It's great to know that we've made it through 1 week of online learning. And if you were actually in the classroom, I would be handing out Happy Friday high chews. So maybe you can go to Costco and get your own bag, or hopefully you're eating relatively nutritiously at a time like this. But I've heard that the sales of snacks have gone up. And I know when I was at Save On yesterday, I bought some bags of chips. So, what I just wanted to say for today is I am loving reading your journal entries, and it is wonderful to see how many people handed it in on time. So a really high number of students got that assignment done on time.
Okay, great job, Lori. Next up, okay, how about this for teamwork? Every time I go into that department, I see this crew together. Another thing that English department's done is they've set it up so they have an online dialogue that's live all the time, where they can go in and they can see what everyone's thoughts are. If people have questions, they can respond to them. So they've created their own little oasis there where they can talk about the English specific topics and how they're going to work together. There's been enough in the office the last little while that they can talk, but I know they're doing a lot of talking online and they're setting up their Google Meets. But I really like this intro that this crew came up with. And I also want to say, Kristen, you've been doing an amazing job. You're a workhorse. You've been really doing a lot for your department.
Good morning, everyone. We just want to introduce ourselves for the students who may not know us. I'm Mr. Fintettenborn, or Mr. V.
I'm Mrs. Holroyd.
I'm Ms. Goff.
Ms. Stroshine.
We're happy to have all of you joining us for the COVID-19 edition of English 20-1. We understand this is a challenging and confusing time for everyone, but please have patience as we move into this new phase of learning together. We know you have a lot of questions, so do we. Unfortunately, we do not have all the answers yet, but we will do our best to answer your questions and maintain the continuity of your learning through the times ahead.
We will be available 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday to connect with you or support you. Please email us during these times or expect a reply to one of your emails during these times. Or you can also join us on Google Meets. We will be setting those up to do video conferencing if needed. So we will let you know and provide links to video meetings when they are happening.
So I don't do this very often, but I'm going to share 3 rules of life that I tend to follow, especially when things aren't going right. I reflect on them and it really starts to get me, it gives me a reset and it lets me get grounded and gives me a new perspective. Okay, one is life is a paradox. Okay, we can't control everything that happens in our lives. Sometimes things just happen, they're mysteries, and there's no way of solving them. Okay, life, you just accept it and life moves on. We had a situation just yesterday. There's an international student in our district who's a 15-year-old. He just found out that his dad in Germany passed away from COVID, and he's here in Canada with his Canadian family. What an awful event, and those events are happening all over the world right now. And for us to try and make sense of that, there's no sense that I can make of it. It's something that's happened, and I don't know what we can even learn from it. But what we do know, something that I think is true, and it will continually happen, is change. Nothing ever stays the same. Change is going to happen, and that's the way it is. Okay, we can't ever accept anything to stay the same. Okay, and the last thing is humor. Okay, it's our best medicine for any of the change that we go through, any of the mysteries we can't solve. If we can stay grounded with humor and with a positive attitude, that's going to get us through things. It's going to make us last longer. We're going to have better lives, and it really is the measure that gives us and provides us the most strength. So the next thing I want to talk about is my mindset. So when we go back to March 13th, the day after my birthday, okay, I had goals, okay? I reached a new, it's just like most of us, when we reach these monumental times in our life, we set goals. So I thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take a picture of myself today. If we aren't in school anymore, students aren't here, I don't have my diplomas, supervision's off my plate, I'm going to have time. So I thought this is a time when I can take a before and after picture and see my progress on getting in shape. So here's my before picture. Now we go to day 16. Yeah, things haven't went well. 7 pounds. I'm up 7 pounds in the last 7 days, and it's been anything but a leisure walk. We've all been tremendously busy, and you know what? It's you look back and you think of all the endless nights and all the sleepless nights and all the chaotic days. All the juggling of events and the resetting of ideas because we get a new announcement from the government. It's been crazy, okay? But we all just move on with it. Remember, life's a paradox, okay? Just be ready for change because it's going to happen, and let's try and follow it with some humor. So this is what Big Jim's supposed to look like. That's what Big Jim looked like when I was growing up. I had 3 of them. He was my hero because we had the same name. Okay, we now have the same name again. That other guy is not my hero. Got to get rid of that weight. Moving on, I want to shout out to some of our staff members, the Tech for Teachers group, their cohort. We're meeting once a week, and we're getting some tremendous things done in the school. They've been really working hard to help out other teachers in the school, getting things in place. The online Google Class is a great resource that you can use, and hats off for them for putting in the time. The other thing that's happening is they're sharing information with me that I can take back to the admin, and it's been extremely helpful. All right, so before I leave here, we're going to have a Q&A time frame coming up, and that's when Darwin will take over. He'll address any of the questions that you have. He's possibly already been looking at them. Maybe he's been responding to them. But I want to move on. I want to show you one item that we've updated here. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of the presentation and go to, I'm just going to move my face out of the way here. I'm going to go over and open up the hub. On the hub, we've taken that spreadsheet that Lori was talking about yesterday. And if you go under staff items, you'll see COVID daily updates, tech tips. If you click on that, that's where that resource is now. Okay, so you're going to see we have all the different topics. Again, please continue to fill this out. If it's a more extensive idea that you have, please put it into Google Classroom where you can add the steps and you can give a little bit more information on how to do it. This is more just a reference. It'll take you to a site. And there's one more thing I want to show you here that I just noticed today is maybe you guys have already seen this, but down at the bottom of your homepage, if you click on Work, Teach, and Learn from Anywhere, you go there. There's all these resources that Google has put on here to share with us with using Google to manage our online learning. So that's another resource that we have to use. We will be sharing more stuff later. But again, thanks everyone for being such a wonderful audience. You can see the sun starting to go down. It's on my face. Okay, but I can't get away from it. There we go. Okay, anyways, you guys have a great day, and thanks for watching.